Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute, we really want to thank you for joining us today. Today's event is a continuation of our ongoing work to empower and uplift Latino communities across California. My name is Cesar Montoya. I'm the Senior Policy Analyst at UCLA LPPI, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar. Before we get started, let me take a moment to share why the Latino Data Hub is so important. At UCLA LPPI, our mission is clear. We strive to create a brighter future for Latinos and communities of color through research, advocacy, mobilization, and leadership development. Our aim is that these strategies propel policy reforms that expand opportunities for all of our communities. LPPI was founded on the premise that Latinos are not a monolith, and that through accurate data, we can change the narrow narratives that have dominated this country on who Latinos are. Latinos are multiracial, multi-ethnic, and span a wide spectrum of lived experiences, but without accurate data, these experiences just don't show up in the numbers. But today, we really want to highlight two research products that embody our commitment to our mission and will demonstrate the rich diversity of our communities. We're going to be hearing from Mariah Bonilla, our community coordinator on behalf of the Latino Data Hub team, who will be presenting her research on Latino renters in LA County. Finally, two of our research fellows, Natalie Rocha and Alberto Vargas, will lead us through a snapshot of the Latino community in the Fresno area. Important issues in our state, yet both produced through the amazing data of the Latino Data Hub. On today's webinar, we have invited community and legislative partners who are working hand in hand with their community on the ground every single day. As advocates, community organizers, policymakers, philanthropists, and scholars who are committed to improving the lives of Latinos and communities of color in our state. We hope that the Latino Data Hub becomes one more dynamic resource that empowers you all to engage in the impacts that results in stronger, more inclusive communities. So in the next hour, we're going to be exploring the capabilities of the Latino Data Hub. But before we dive into the details, we want to thank you again for being here. My hope is that by the end of today's webinar, equipped to make a difference in your communities. But to kick us off on today's program is our senior research analyst, Ji Zhang. Ji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cesar, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Ji. I'm a senior research analyst at LPPI and the manager of the Latino Data Hub. I'm very excited to demonstrate the tool today and hope you'll find this helpful for you to identify the needs of your community. In addition to the demonstration, you'll also hear about two research products my wonderful colleagues put together. The data from these briefs come directly from this platform. You don't need to be a data scientist to be able to generate your own data. If you have any questions during my demonstration, please feel free to write them in the Q&A function, and we can get to them at the end of the presentation. So first, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and turn my camera off to ensure a smooth experience. To get started, to get to the site, we can go to latinodatahub.org. When you first visit the site, you'll see a pop-up to subscribe to our newsletter. We recommend subscribing to receive data updates, events, and future research products. Our home screen offers top-level links to access the tool, our data and methodology, including the ability to continue in Spanish. Our research page showcases data briefs to profile the Latino population using data from the platform. We currently have 4, but we're set to publish more, authored by our research team and fellows. The issue areas contain data related to a specific topic, like demographics, education, language, and employment, among others. You can access them from the top navigation bar or the center left panel of the, on the right of the center panel, you can find a series of tutorial videos walking you through basic and advanced use of the tool. During our time here, I will focus on the custom graph feature here. and which enables access to all indicators and allow users to save and share data queries. You can create a profile. So I'm going to demonstrate the logout. So here is a login page, and then if you have not had an account, you can create a register a free account here, and it's completely free. We only ask you a few questions about what do you use the data for, and how can we best be helpful for your institution. So here I'm gonna log in using my credential. Okay, and then I'm now logged in, and then so I'm gonna go to the custom graph site, and then delete this graph so you can see how it looks from the scratch. Before we proceeding, I wanted to note that we use the US government's official definition of Latino to ensure consistency with other data sources. So this includes 20 Spanish-speaking countries from Latin America and Spain, but not Portugal or Portuguese-speaking Brazil. You can learn more about how we define racial and ethnic groups on our FAQ page under our About tab. Now that I'm logging, I'm going to click on Add Graph to start making a data visualization. First, pick the visualization type. I will select Map, and then click on the drop-down menu to access the full list of indicators. Let's say that we're interested in the median hourly wage of Latinos. Instead of scrolling, I can type it into a search bar. So I will do wage. So you can see hourly wage as an indicator. And now you can see a hidden map of Latino median hourly wage by state. And here is a bar chart that ranks the states and the US average. So the US average is here, and then these are the states have higher wages than US average. These are the states have lower wages. You can, and then when you click on a particular state, so let's say California, you can find that California ranked the 11th highest in Latino median wage nationally. If you're unclear about the indicator's definition or who is or is not included in this calculation, you can click on this icon to find notes for clarification. You can also click on these icons to save the image, view it in full screen, share a link to your data visualization, and download the data in CSV format, copy the data to your clipboard, and clear all your changes here. We welcome you to view visualizations directly from our website or download the data to make your own chart. We only ask you to cite Latino Data Hub properly. This will help us track impact and maintain the platform. In the FAQ under the About, we have specific instructions about how to cite our data. So to dive deeper, we can click on View Chart to switch to the bar chart view. By default, this chart, as the title entails, compares the median hourly wage of Latinos to the overall population and other non-Latino racial groups, white, API, Black, Native American, multiracial, and then these are all non-Latino racial groups. When you scroll over the bar chart, you will find a sentence explaining each data point. By clicking on the Customize button, you can first choose a different comparison group. You can also click on the I button here that would tell for further clarification of the groupings. Let's select Latino descent groups. So now you'll see, and then click Submit. And now you'll see the same data point, but for Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, etc. You can add or remove groups, including adding more specific Central American groups or South American descent groups. So for example, here, I'm going to try to select Guatemalan. And then for South American, I can select Colombian. And then I can also just deselect the overall group to make the chart a little more easier to understand. You can, when you scroll down on the table, you will access a data table with comparison groups corresponding to your selection. You can download the table as a CSV file or copy data into the clipboard, just like we did in the previous map view. To compare differences between sex, you can select include sex comparison. And now you can see disparities by sex for each group. So the bottom here has a legend that the tier bar indicates female and the light blue bar indicates male. And then you can find that in general, male has a higher median hourly wage than female. And that is true across all different Latino descent groups. You can also select an additional breakdown, which allows you to add another layer of comparison, splitting your data by citizenship, age group, English proficiency, veteran status, and other categories. So for example, here, I'm going to do nativity and citizenship. And then you can click on submit. And then at the bottom, you'll find a legend, which shows what each color means. So here, the darker color means the female, and the lighter one means male. And then when you scroll over the bar, each bar will show an exact sentence that talk about what the data means. And as you can see, that overall, non-citizens and US born and the naturalized citizens have a slightly higher median wage than non-citizens. And then you can further refine your search based on geography. And since our partners are all from California, I'm going to showcase how to find data for California. And I'm going to unclick these customized options just to make the chart a little cleaner. So here I'm going to select California as a state, and then we can click submit. And then now you'll see the information just for California. And then notice that the title is also modified based on your selection. And then you can also further refine the geography by looking at different counties in California. So here, if you scroll down, you will see a list of counties in California. And then since we are talking about Fresno County, so we can try to just look at Fresno County right now and then do a submit. And then you will be able to see that there are different among different Latino descent groups, what is the median hourly wage. And the Fresno County Latino population are heavily Mexican. So that's why when you see for Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, Guatemalan, these numbers are NAs. We use this is because that there's not enough sample for us to generate reliable estimates. Our minimum sample size is 100. And we intentionally build many guiding features to allow users to interpret the data correctly. So when you hover over the bars, you can see a sentence that is dynamic to your selection and explaining each data point. Finally, we have an advanced feature, which is called filters. Here, you can access the filter here. This allows users to calculate the indicators only for a subset of the population based on a series of factors: income, age, citizenship, employment status, insurance coverage. However, for time purpose, we won't be demonstrating this today, but if you have questions, we will share a list of resources and reference material after the demonstration. If you go to the front page, the video number 3, which is like advanced features about filters, that would get you all the in and out about how to use filters correctly. If you create a filter, a profile, you can save all your work and add as many data visualization as you'd like to. So for example, if I wanted to run a comparison about the median hourly wage for Latinos in Fresno County versus those in LA County, I will be able to just do a very simple clicking sequence as I did before, but just pick LA County instead of Fresno in the geography selection. If you ever run into any obstacles, you can share experience or questions with us by clicking on this red question mark at the bottom right to ask for support and provide feedback. We try to get back to people within the business day. So Mariah and I try very hard to make sure that your questions are answered as soon as possible. This concludes my showcase of the tool, but we will be answering questions in the Q&A section. And I'm going to stop sharing. And now I will turn it over to Mariah, who will present facts about Latino renters in LA County. Thank you.
Thank you, G. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mariah Bonilla, and I'm a project policy analyst at UCLA LPPI, and I'm the community coordinator for the Latino Data Hub. Prior to my role at UCLA LPPI, I was a community organizer in Los Angeles, and using data from the Latino Data Hub, G and I produced a data brief that presents the state of housing cost burden among renters in Los Angeles County. Again, if you have any questions during my portion of the presentation, please use our Q&A function and we'll answer them at the end. So our data brief was created to explore the state of housing cost burden among Latinos in Los Angeles County. This came from the deadline for COVID-19 rental debt and the end of the COVID-19 rent stabilization ordinance in the city of Los Angeles. Both the county and City of Los Angeles implemented renter protections to alleviate some of the rent burdens faced by tenants during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the end of these protections on February 1st added urgency to this critical issue. And this brought us to create this data brief. Now let's explore the demographic composition of renters in Los Angeles County. So Los Angeles County housed more than 5 million renters in 2021, and more than half of all renters in the county are Latino. Furthermore, nearly 80% of LA County renters are people of color. Specifically, according to data from the Latino Data Hub, Latinos made up 56% of all renters in Los Angeles County in 2021, totaling approximately 2.7 million individuals. Housing cost burdens are prevalent across racial and ethnic groups. So 26% or 1.3 million renters in LA County experienced a moderate housing cost burden, which is presented by that pink color you see on the graph. This is defined as spending more than 30% but below 50% of one's household income on rent and utilities. An additional 28% of renters, or 1.4 million, experienced a severe housing cost burden, which is seen in that blue or teal color you see on the graph. And this refers to spending 50% or more on household income on rent or utilities. Black renters in particular faced the highest rates of housing cost burden according to our analysis from the Latino Data Hub, with 60% of Black renters in LA County experiencing a moderate or severe housing cost burden in 2021. Latino renters were slightly more housing cost burden than renters overall, with 55% experiencing a housing cost burden. Renters across Latino racial groups experienced moderate and severe housing cost burdens at similar rates, ranging between 22 to 28% for moderate housing cost burden and between 24 and 32% for severe housing cost burden. Afro-Latino renters experienced a higher rate of severe housing cost burden compared to all other Latino racial ethnic groups, which you can see by that arrow. Gender disparities also play a role in housing cost burden among Latino renters. Our data shows that Latina renters are more likely to be burdened by housing costs compared to Latino men, with various variations observed across Latino descent groups, with the widest disparity among those of Guatemalan, Puerto Rican, and Honduran descent, and the narrowest among South Americans and Mexican descent. You can find a detailed chart comparing by Latino descent groups in our data brief on the Latino Data Hub as well. Moreover, nativity and citizenship status influence housing cost burden rates among Latino renters, and US-born and naturalized citizens generally experiencing lower rates of housing cost burden than non-citizens. So in particular, Latinos of South American descent had the largest gap between rent-burdened US-born citizens and non-citizens, with a 12 percentage point difference between the two groups. And Latinos of Guatemalan descent had the largest gap between US-born and naturalized citizens, experiencing housing cost burden between 61% versus 52%. US-born renters of Honduran descent defied this trend, though, and they experienced higher percentages of moderate and severe housing cost burden than non-citizens of Honduran descent by 3 percentage points. Even with higher levels of education, many renters continue to face housing cost burdens. For instance, our data shows that 43% of Latino renters with at least some college education experienced moderate or severe housing cost burdens in 2021. Our data indicates that employed Latinos generally experience lower housing cost burdens than those unemployed or not in the labor force. Specifically, moderate housing cost burdens were observed among 27 to 31% of employed renters across various Latino descent groups. In contrast, rates were higher for unemployed at 34% and those not in the labor force at 37%. This disparity is particularly striking among Honduran descent groups, where 51% of employed renters face housing cost burdens, compared to 68% of those not in the labor force. So even with traditional protectors against housing insecurity, like employment, higher educational attainment, and citizenship, Latinos experience housing cost burden at high rates. Furthermore, housing cost burden and housing security in Los Angeles County is a multiracial and ethnic issue, impacting Black and Latino renters the most. This brings us to the end of my portion of the presentation. So thank you for your time, and I'll turn it over to our policy fellows, Natalie Rocha and Alberto Vargas, to share about Latinos in Fresno.
Thank you, Mariah. Hello, everyone. My name is Alberto Vargas, and I'm a first-year Master's in Public Policy student here at UCLA and the current UCLA LPPI Fellow. I formerly worked for Field Staffer Assemblymember Gabriel before pursuing a Master's here at UCLA, so really excited to be a part of this.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Rocha. I'm currently a UCLA LPPI Policy Fellow and also a second-year Master in Social Welfare student at UCLA. I previously served K-12 students as an elementary school teacher and a staffer for the LA Unified School Board.
Awesome. So today, my colleague Natalie and I will be sharing on the Latino well-being in Fresno County. Our brief explores Fresno County and indicators around the economic and demographic well-being of the Latino community. We highlight the assets and challenges the Latino community experiences. So to begin with, Fresno County is the top agriculture producing county in the United States and is also the sixth largest county in California by Latino population as of 2021. In Fresno County, the Latino population has grown over 54% in the last 2 decades, from 352,000 people in 2000 to over 500,000 in 2021. Looking at the bar chart, the dark blue represents the Latino population, while the teal bar on top represents the non-Latino population. Latinos are now over half of Fresno County's population. In addition, since 2010, Latinos have accounted for all the population growth in Fresno County, while the non-Latino population has remained flat. In addition to the significant growth rates, Latinos in Fresno County are also young. 1 in 3 Fresno County Latino Latinos is a child under the age of 18, higher than California Latinos and the overall Fresno County population. Looking at nativity, most Latinos in Fresno County were U.S. born in 2021. 3/4 of Latinos in Fresno County were U.S. born, 8 percentage points more than California Latinos overall at 67%. Latinos in Fresno County are also less likely to speak Spanish at home than California Latinos. Just 63% of Fresno County Latinos primarily spoke Spanish at home, 8 percentage points lower than California Latinos at 71%. And now I will turn it over to my colleague, Natalie.
Looking at educational attainment, only 11% of Latinos in Fresno County have completed a bachelor's degree or higher. This rate is lower than their peers of other racial and ethnic groups in Fresno County and lower than the rate for Latinos in California overall. It's important to highlight the strength of the Latino labor force in Fresno County. Latinos have the highest labor force participation rate among their peers of various racial and ethnic groups at 66.7%. Despite strong labor force participation and employment rates, however, almost 1 in 4 Latinos in Fresno County lived in poverty in 2021. Latinos have the lowest median wages among major racial and ethnic groups. In 2021, Latinos in Fresno County earned an average of $16 an hour, the lowest among all racial and ethnic groups in Fresno County. This is also a $9 average wage difference between Latinos in Fresno County when compared to their white peers. On average, Latinos in Fresno County also earn $2 less per hour than California Latinos overall. One reason why this may be the case is that Latinos in Fresno County are less likely to be entrepreneurs or work in higher wage occupations like engineering, the arts, media, and entertainment. Fresno County is important economically. It is the 6th largest county for Latino populations in California. We want to highlight Fresno County for its importance to Latinos and the Central Valley, but we also want to uplift a less discussed region of California. Investments in Fresno County Latinos will reap large rewards, not only because they form over half of the population, but because they are young, growing, and very likely to work. Thank you for your time today, and we will now transition to a time of Q&A for questions you may have on what we all have presented today.
Well, thank you everyone for sharing those highlights from the Latino Data Hub. My name is Misael Galdames. I'm a senior research analyst at UCLA LPPI for economic mobility and opportunity, and I'll be moderating today's question and answers. If you have any questions related to the data, whether about Fresno County or Los Angeles County, or whether you have any questions about the Latino Data Hub, we invite you to share them in the Q&A. So first, there's a question here from an anonymous attendee that says, could you please provide some background as to how this research was conducted and what are the plans for the future of the hub to continuously update the data? G, would you be willing to answer that question?
Thank you for this question. The data hub, the data that we presented here today are mostly based on American Community Survey, which is the largest annual survey collected by the Census Bureau. And our team did all the coding and weighting in the back end, and then we basically allow users to be able to customize to run data queries. The data is updated every year by the Census Bureau. So right now we are going through an annual update and hoping to update the data from 2021 ACS to 2022 ACS sometime in either April or May this year. So this will be a good opportunity to sign up for our newsletter, because we will send out an announcement when the data are updated with advanced and enhanced features. Thank you.
Thank you, G. And just as a follow-up, could you share a bit about what kind of training or resources are available for users who are new to data analysis or interpretation and who might want to start using the Latino Data Hub?
Yeah, thank you. Our website is a great place to start. Upon launching of the tool, we have thought about how to best engage users and how to train them to know how to use the tool. We have a few tutorial videos on the website that you can get from the front page. It's at the center right panel. There are 3 of them. They range from very basic functions to more advanced features. We also have put together a very robust and thorough technical documentations on the site to explain the data and definitions for folks who are more interested into the nitty-gritty of the details. So you can access those information if you go to the front page, and then there's a About button, and then under there is like our data, and also there's like FAQ. These are all like the most frequent asked questions that we get. Over the next couple of months, we're going to host public webinars and getting started about to do office hours in Spanish and English, where one of our staff members will provide demonstrations and answer questions and help you troubleshoot. The latest webinar, the next webinar that we have will be hosted on April 17th. We are collaborating with Blackwell's data center, and then we will be doing showcase of our tool and their tool, and also have a moderate discussion about how the data tool comes about and what are the challenges that we share in terms of providing data to community partners. So definitely stay tuned for more information about that and then sign up. We are also committed to provide targeted training that's tailored to your issue area and geography if your organization is interested. We have done some private trainings with like immigrant service providers in the Bay Area and Fresno County. And so if you're interested in hosting such trainings, please either use the contact form that I demonstrated or email us at info@latinodatahub.org, where we will collect more information from you, and then we're happy to facilitate a training that's the best suitable for your team.
Thank you, G. And as a reminder to our audience members, please feel free to ask any questions you might have about the data briefs or the Data Hub in the chat. G, one more follow-up question for you from the chat. How often will new data briefs be posted on the Latino Data Hub website?
We try to do monthly, which is very ambitious. So we did one, we did 4 so far, and I think we are going to publish another one in May, focusing on AAPI Latinos and collaborating with the AAPI Civic Engagement Fund. We're also going to publish a similar brief to the Fresno County one, but this time focusing on Maricopa County in Arizona in June. If you have any like ideas, or things that you find will be particularly useful for your organization, we are very open to helping with working with community partners to develop these types of briefs, because the goal of these type of briefs is to demonstrate the user case scenarios that hopefully it will be ready to use by different organizations. So please feel free to contact us. We're very easy to approach. We're really open to collaborating. Thank you.
Thank you, G. One more question here in the chat. It says, with the IE being the fastest growing region in California and currently the second biggest metropolitan area in the state, I am curious if the data was considered or will be considered in these studies. The IE is expected to be over half of the Latino population soon. Curious how policymakers here can best make use of the data. And that comes from Carolina Cardenas. This may also be a good time to share, some of the upcoming features that could be useful in talking about the IE.
Yeah, thank you for this question. We know there's a lot of fantastic data work that's being done about Inland Empire, and we're in contact with a lot of the organization there. And that's one of the feature enhancement that we're going to push out in the annual updates, which is to combine geographies to construct a region. And I think Inland Empire encompasses multiple counties. And right now, if you were to combine them, you will have to do them manually. And one of the goals that we're doing is to just so that users can do that very easily. So definitely, we're very interested in being, part of the conversation, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you, G. Just wanted to flag for my colleagues if there was anybody else who would like to chime in about the Inland Empire. No?
No, just
Okay.
said it, but also to highlight that we are conducting a lot of research in the Inland Empire. Some of it has to do with the growth of the warehouse industry. And so in the next few months, we will be publishing some data briefs about workers, Latino workers in the Inland Empire. And then there's also some research coming out about kind of like education pipelines and how the warehouse industry has been influencing education policy in the Inland Empire. So please stay tuned because there's a lot coming about that area. And of course, reach out to us at info@latinodataHub.org with any questions, and we'll be happy to answer questions and be your partner. We're here to be partners of all of you.
And as a reminder, the best way to stay updated about both the Latino Data Hub and about the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute research is to subscribe to newsletters. Whenever there's a new release or an update, we send a newsletter out up to breast with some of the research that we're covering. Please subscribe to those newsletters. Switching gears a little bit, I would like to ask our researchers some questions around LA County specifically and Fresno County. I want to ask about the policy implications of some of the research that they have already done. So first, I'd like to ask my colleague Mariah Bonilla, who focused on LA renters or renters in LA County. Based on the results of your research and based off what you shared today about renters in Los Angeles County, what kinds of policies could better support folks who face rent burdens, whether moderate or severe?
Yeah, thank you. I think first to address some of these challenges, it's very important to engage with renters alongside our data findings. So many renters in LA County have advocated for more robust renter protections, similar to those that were instated during the COVID-19 pandemic. So one effective measure to help our rent burdened individuals in Los Angeles would be rent relief programs similar to those implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic, because these provide direct assistance to renters grappling with housing insecurity.
Thank you, Mariah. Are there any, just while we're talking about the LA renters briefs, are there any additional data points or anything else that you think the audience members might be useful for them that perhaps was not presented that they could see on the brief?
Yeah, definitely. I think something that we weren't able to show in our presentation today was particularly the descent breakdown. And one thing that was very interesting to me was our breakdown by sex and Latino descent groups. So when we were looking at that, we found that, of course, across Latino descent groups, female renters had higher rates of housing cost burden. But this was, when we go by Latino descent group, we saw that 63% of Guatemalan female renters were housing cost burden, and 65% of Honduran female renters in LA County were housing cost burden. I think that really shows the importance of disaggregated data because, at LPPI, we say Latinos are not a monolith. So it's really important to, see those differences across Latino descent groups.
Thank you, Mariah. Indeed, and that's part of the reason that this Latino Data Hub exists. I would also like to turn and ask to my colleagues who worked on the Fresno County brief, Natalie Rocha and Alberto Vargas, about their policy recommendations or policy implications of their research work. So first, for Natalie, what are two takeaways from this research on Fresno County? And is there anything that policymakers and advocates should pay special attention to as they develop policy for Fresno County?
Thank you for the question. Two things that we highlighted today in our presentation had to do with labor force participation rates being higher for Latinos in Fresno County, but also at the same time, still 1 in 4 Latinos were still in poverty. And so that's a huge gap in what's needed, right? And so when we talk about policy implications, we're talking about the wage gap being, $9 on average in Fresno County. So I think that's one area that can have policy implications. And another area is the educational attainment portion, where only 11% of Latinos in Fresno County are having a bachelor's or higher. So these two areas, I think, are opportunities to support this growing population and this population that is younger and growing quickly in Fresno County.
Thank you, Natalie. Is there anything additional in the brief that we perhaps did not get to cover in today's short presentation that you think the audience members should be aware of?
Yes, in the brief, we cover more on health insurance, which is also an important facet here. And we have also some data on more specifically on home ownership rates. So something that I would like to highlight is that Latinos in Fresno County were less likely to own homes than their peers at the county level, with the exception of the Black and Native American populations in that county. So there is more detail and then there's also more detail of other ethnic and racial groups within the county if you're also interested in knowing those numbers.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And I'd like to ask as well the co-author and colleague, Alberto Vargas, related to what Natalie shared about educational attainment in Fresno County, what do you see could be some policies that could promote Latino college completion rates in Fresno County? What are policies that could support Latinos as they seek to complete a college education?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Misael. So we don't have specific data on why Fresno County Latinos aren't completing college at higher rates, but we do know that Latinos are generally more likely to drop out of college due to financial reasons than other racial ethnic groups. Programs that improve college affordability and accessibility will help Latino graduation rates increase. One example is the California Community College BA program, which we recently released a report on. It's shown initial success in improving BA rates for Latinos.
Thank you. And is there anything else that you'd like to share, perhaps related to outreach or other experiences that the Latino community might face?
Yeah, we actually also showed some data on Latino and Latina veterans completing college at higher rates in the Latino community as opposed to non-Latino veterans. And I think a large part of that, from what we see, is the GI Bill. It makes college more affordable for Latino students that are pursuing higher ed.
Thank you, Alberto. So seeing that we have no other questions in the chat, and that we are getting close to time, I would like to thank all of you, our community stakeholders in the audience, for coming today and attending our community briefing on the Latino Data Hub. As I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to stay up to date with the newest offerings from the Latino Data Hub, any data updates that might come, any new research, please subscribe to the newsletter. And I also invite you to create an account on the Latino Data Hub website so that you can save your own data visualizations and any other custom data queries you might have. And please also subscribe to our UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute newsletter so you can stay up to date with our latest research on the Latino community. Again, my name is Misael Galdames. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.